Welcome to the Commercial Real Estate Show, your source for market intelligence, forecasts, and success strategies. Hello, I'm Michael Bull. Thanks for joining us on one of the radio stations, iTunes, YouTube, or the show website, creshow.com. Well, we have an incredible show for you today. The title is End of Expansion Cycle or Beginning of a Robust Economy. Really, where are we? How long are the good times going to last? Some of the changes going on in the economy and with Trump, interest rate changes. How is it going to impact the economy? Are we at the top of the market? Do we still have some ride left? Well, we're going to find out from some experts today. Please welcome my first guest, Bob O'Brien. He's Global Real Estate Sector Leader with Deloitte. Bob, thanks for joining us on the phone today.
Hey, Michael, great to speak to you again. Looking forward to our discussion.
Well, Bob, there seems like there is a lot going on in the economy, and whether you run a business or you invest in real estate or operate real estate, you're always kind of wondering, hey, what's around the corner? So the name of the show, End of Expansion Cycle or Beginning of Robust Economy, where are we?
Well, predicting where we're at in the cycle is always difficult, but in this cycle, I think it's really difficult because I think it's been unusual, right? The cycle started with a recovery from the deep abyss of the global financial crisis. There's been, relatively slow economic growth over the course of the cycle thus far. And two of the primary drivers of the dramatically improved value we've seen in commercial real estate has been driven by low interest rates and lack of new supply. So predicting where we're at in the cycle and where it's going to end is always a challenge, but I think in this cycle it's particularly challenging.
Right, and if you just looked at the length alone, where do we compare in the number of years that we've been in a robust economy and compared to past times?
Yeah, oftentimes you'll see people throw around 18 years as a typical real estate cycle, right? And so if you would say that the bottom of the cycle was hit in 2008, 2009, you were 8-9 years into an 18-year cycle, or maybe half of the way through it. On the other hand, though, when you start taking a look at real estate prices and where they stand relative to the peaks of the previous cycle, you're saying, hey, maybe this market's gotten a little rich. Are we at risk of seeing a downturn in the real estate cycle sooner than that typical 18-year period? My sense is no. My sense is that the potential of economic expansion, the lack of too much leverage, the real lack of new supply coming out of the market, although there is an uptick in supply, it's not at the level that we've typically seen right before a downturn.
Right. Yeah, we haven't seen the type of new supply that we've seen in the past, and I agree. We don't have lenders fighting each other to do 90% loans, and we also don't have people getting 100% loans on houses, right? And I remember before the last downturn, you go to a party, and everyone at the party is talking about all the houses and condos and everything they're buying. We're not hearing that as well, are we?
No, I really do think that leverage and excess supply and the exuberance really represented by both of those are the two variables that really drive the downside of the cycle. And I don't think on either of those we've hit that stage yet.
And Bob, you mentioned that we've had really low interest rates, maybe historically low for this amount of time. So what impact does that have on the cycle? If we've been running along with these low rates and everyone's used to them, in fact, a lot of the sellers I talk to, potential owners or sellers to me, I'm a broker, right? So they're like, interest rates are never going to rise, Michael. We're good. We'll hold on. Well, we are starting to see an uptick. What do you expect on interest rate increases, and how might that impact the cycle in the economy of real estate?
Well, just in and of itself, right, interest rate increases would likely have a negative impact on real estate values and would likely have a negative impact on transaction volume. The question becomes, will those interest rate increases come with economic growth, right? One of the reasons the Fed is looking at raising rates is it takes a look at a pretty positive employment situation. You're starting to see people getting real pay increases, so there's some level of wage growth. You are starting to see some indications of inflation, and so that is what's really driving any potential increase in interest rates. Those sorts of things could also drive improvements in real estate fundamentals and in growth, right, from a real estate standpoint. And if you do get that growth, I don't think an uptick in interest rates alone is enough to create the last leg of the cycle.
Well, you have me smiling over here in Studio One when you say we might have 10 more years left in this upswing. That would be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but I really do think that's dependent on economic growth. And you mentioned Trump early on in the introductory remarks. If Trump is successful in his agenda around regulatory reform, around tax reform, around $1 trillion in infrastructure spending, you're likely going to see economic growth that's been better than what we've seen thus far in the recovery. And if that's the case, that's going to be a real positive for real estate.
Yeah, and I guess if you look at the stock market as an indication of what's going to happen in the future, a lot of people are feeling very confident that the economy is going to improve, right?
Yeah, I think you see it in a number of different metrics. If you look at the stock market, you look at consumer confidence. Like I mentioned, if you look at some of the employment reports around both workforce participation, employment, and then also wage growth, all those things should be positive for real estate.
Right. And you mentioned interest rate increases. What do you guys expect for increases moving forward in 17 and maybe 18?
Well, one of the things we take a look at are inflation-adjusted bonds and the spreads related to swaps. And that certainly would indicate that there'd be an expectation of at least 2, if not 3, Fed rate increases in 2017, and just in general interest rate increases. So, market indicators certainly would imply that we may be seeing some interest rate increases here in 2017.
And Bob, if you will, look into your crystal ball. Tell me what you expect for 2018 for rate increases by the Fed.
Well, I think 2018, it all comes down to what the economy is doing, right? If the interest rate increases in 2017 create a bit of a more than expected drag on the economy, I think the Fed will pull back a little bit on that. Because we are pretty far into an economic recovery, although things look very positive for real estate, I think it's more difficult to sustain an economic recovery 18 years, and so consequently we could conceivably see a little pullback as a result of interest rate increases on the broader economy.
Okay. And before you go, I'd like to get your opinion on where we are in the cycles for the different sectors. Are there certain sectors that you guys see maybe a little bit ahead of others if you look at the sector based across the country?
Well, the first thing we look at is supply increases, right? And in multifamily residential, that's probably been leading the way across all the sectors in terms of supply increases. And so consequently, you're already seeing a softening of fundamentals in some of those cities where you've seen the most supply increase. Initially we saw it in Washington, D.C., more recently New York, San Francisco. So multifamily residential is interesting in terms of, yes, there's been a shift to rental housing versus owned housing, but nonetheless, because of supply increases, we've seen a little bit of softness in the fundamentals of multifamily residential in certain markets. Office looks very positive right now, although there will be some supply coming online over the course of the next 2 or 3 years that may ultimately soften some of the office fundamentals. But with the employment growth we were talking about before and the lack of new supply, office has been reasonably strong. Yeah. Retail is challenging, right, in terms of the impact of online shopping and the impact that's having on retail. And it does vary from the A malls to the B and C malls to the grocery anchored shopping centers.
Well, Bob, I want to get your opinion on hospitality too, and your opinion on the Trump effect. So stay with us. We'll be right back with more on the expansion cycle or robust economy. Where are we? Hey there, thanks for checking out the Commercial Real Estate Show. Don't miss a video of special interest to you. Be sure to subscribe below. And if you appreciate the videos, be sure and thank our sponsors. There's a link to more information about them in the description. For more videos, podcasts, and articles, check out creshow.com.